What I'm going to do right now is show you how to make a selection when you have a complex background like this and we want to cut out the woman here and put her on a different background. So the first thing I do is I'm grabbing my quick selection tool and I'm just going to go in and grab the areas that I want to select and just come in and select them. I want the arm, I want the couch, and when I have areas that disjointed like this, I just press the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, come down. I want to grab a lot of the hair in here right up to the edge. I'm not too worried about getting much of that hair in because I'm going to let Refine Edge. Come back over here and pick this. Whoops. Now if that happens, just hold down the Option key and drag back. That's very common to have that happen. And I just want a little edge right in there. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I need to add this area right there. I'll worry about cutting that out later, but I've got all the areas right in here pretty well defined. The hat's pretty well. Now this is going to be interesting right here to get that see-through. Once I have this done, I'm going to go and select, save selection. So if I need it again, I can get back to it easily. Doesn't take up any space. Now once that's done, I'm coming up here to Refine Edge. Click that. That brings up this panel. And this is the magic panel right here, because what we're going to do is fix all these jagged edges. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the radius for edge detection to about 3 or 4. Just until I start seeing where the edges are coming in. I make my brush a little bit bigger. And then I'm just going to sit and draw along the edges that I want the hair to show up in. And make sure I get all the hair in there. When I let go, you notice how it goes through and fixes all this? Now we got a little area right down in here. And so using the Option key, I'm going to erase that a bit. There we go. And come back down a little bit more. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to come and do the same thing over on this side. And that looks pretty good. I'm just going to clean this up here just a little bit. That's looking pretty good, and especially since the background is going to be a blending background. Now, this gauzy material right in here, I'm just going to come in and do the same thing. And that captured it right then and there. Took it all out. So now I'm going to feather it just a bit. I like to feather it about 0.8, just so these lines are not real harsh lines. Decontaminate color means to remove any color that we may have on the edges. I'm going to crank that up to about 80, and you can see a little bit of it disappearing. And then I want a new mask with layer and hit OK. Now you see I've got a real nice clean mask around here. Now before I make any adjustments, I'm going to go in and put my background in and see how that looks. I've already chosen a background. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to try this red background first. Grab my Move tool, hold down the Shift key, drag it over to the heather and drop it, and this will center it. Okay, so now I have this background, but notice it doesn't give me enough room. It's not big enough. So since it's going to be just a little bit of change, not much, I'm just going to go to Transform. I'm going to bring the Transform down to about there. Since I'm not doing a whole lot of Transform, I don't have to worry about it distorting. Click Accept it, drag it beneath it, and I see for the most part, it looks like a pretty clean cut. I got a little area right up there that needs fixing. That looks pretty good. That actually looks good, and that looks good down there too. So that's a pretty good, and the reds come pretty close to matching. I think I'm going to keep it this way. But I'm going to go back up here to the mask layer, come in close, and you see that it's a little hinky. So I'm going to grab my brush tool on the mask layer, set at 50%, and just paint this back in, paint the hair back in. Just keep painting it back in. And that's about as crisp as I'm going to get it. Come back out to a viewing distance. And then here's another little trick. What I'm going to do on this layer over here is I'm going to bring up the layer styles. Bring up the layer style. I'm going to choose Inner Glow. And then the color I'm going to select is the color of her hair right there. And that will do a lot of cleaning up right around in through here. And then I can play with the opacity to see how much I want to do it. Bring the opacity down. And now I've got a pretty clean cutout. The only thing I may want to do is come in and notice that the gauze right here is totally see-through. Is go in with my paintbrush and maybe clean this up just a little bit. But for the most part, that looks pretty good. Oh, there's one little area right down here. No, that's actually the way it looked. That's her actual hair, so I don't have to clean that up. And that's all there is to doing cutting out a background using the Refine Edge tool. If you have any questions, give me a call.